The normal hindrance to change is called habit. The normal hindrance to change is called habit. Have you ever noticed that the older that you become, the more difficult that it is to initiate lasting change? You know why? Because we seem to get set in our ways. Because the longer that you've been alive, the longer you've developed a particular way of doing things, a regular response to stimuli, the more that we create these things called habits. So you're going to need a great deal of resolve and encouragement in order to break a well-entrenched habit. And so remember that the background of the story, that the children of Israel, God was bringing them out of Egypt and taking them into the promised land. And whenever you go from one level of life into another, you see, it's a different thing to go from a place of slavery into coming into a place of freedom. God had to allow them to go around to be able to allow them to transition. You need transitional time in order to process the change from being a slave to coming into freedom, having a different mindset. And so what happened in the wilderness, God let them walk around for 40 years because they could have made that journey in 3 months. But it took 40 years for a generation to die because, you know, there are some folks, old folks, that just can't get with a new program. I mean, even when God is the author of it. And some of them, I mean, if God himself says, listen, we're going to do something new, they're like, no, God, I'm still in love with the old thing. And they're like, give me the old thing, don't bring me this new thing. See, there are new winds of God. There are new cycles that God brings about. And if you get stuck in one phase of life, it's just that you're stuck. And many of them got stuck, and the ones that got stuck died in the wilderness. There were only 2 people that had a mindset who knew how to go from a slave into a land of freedom and blessing. Those 2 people, Joshua and Caleb, were the only 2. The rest of them were folks that were born in the desert, a whole new generation. But everybody 20 and over 20 years old, they happened to die in the wilderness so that a new generation could be born, because certain things have to die in you before you can inhabit brand new things. You got to be able to die to yourself. And so change can be thought of as breaking habit by exchanging one kind of behavior for another. And that's what it's about. It's exchanging one kind of behavior for another. Whenever you need to establish new habits or break old habits. And forming a new habit, it's a difficult thing. I'll be the first to admit it, that forming good habits is a difficult thing to do, but it can be done. But may I let you in on a little secret? It normally takes more than 30 days. I know people talk about 21 days to a habit and 30 days to a habit. I mean, I've seen people, you know, start off in membership at the gym in the first of the year, and, you know, they're going to work out and everything. 30 days. You can't find those people around April. I mean, you know, so trust me, it takes longer than 30 days to make a habit. So don't think that you got everything entrenched after 30 days. That's probably just a snazzy title that sold somebody some books or some seminars. But not everything that you hear in a title is true. You have to realize that not everything that you heard is true. Certain things take longer than 30 days to get entrenched and established in your life. And so, you know, commitment only means intention and desire and resolve when you have real commitment in your heart. But commitment provides the foundation for change, but accountability actually ensures the change. You don't stay connected to your commitment unless you make yourself accountable to somebody. You tell somebody that you're going to lose 20 pounds. You tell them, listen, if I don't lose 20 pounds by 6 months now, I'm going to pay you $20. Make yourself accountable to somebody, you know. Build accountability into whatever it is that you're doing. Make yourself accountable. I'm telling you that it's accountability that ensures the change. You got to let somebody check on you to say, you know, how am I doing? You know, make yourself accountable. If you're dealing with an alcohol addiction, drug addiction, porn addiction, you got to make yourself accountable to somebody. You know why? Because when you love people and you respect somebody that you make yourself accountable to, it hurts you more to let them down than it does to let yourself down. You can let yourself down, but you know, you don't want to let mom and them down. You don't want to let your friend down. You don't want to let somebody down who's looking up to you. You don't want to let your children down. So make yourself accountable to somebody, because commitment, it provides the foundation for change, but accountability actually ensures the change. And then remember this whole idea that movement is life. Movement is life. Don't let anything, no matter how hard life hits you, don't let it stop you. Don't let it cause you to sit down on the sidelines of life and give up. Don't give up. Don't give up. You get back in the game, because movement is life. Every season, please understand this, every season demands change for survival. Every season of life demands change for survival. Listen to me carefully. You can't live in your 60s and 70s and 80s like you did when in your teens and 20s. You can't be down to 85 years old down there eating varsity chili dogs 3 times a week and pizza. You'll be laid up in the hospital with a heart attack and stroke mixed in with Alzheimer's and dementia. I'm just here to remind you that every season demands change for survival. Every season demands change for survival. You know, when you're young, you can just spring out of the bed. You know, you just pop up. You get a certain age, you take your time. You can hurt something. You can sprain something. You can pull your back. I talk to some older people. I'm like, what happened to you? It's like, well, I was getting out the bed. I mean, you weren't playing sports. I mean, what happened to you? I was bending over trying to tie my shoe, and something pulled in the small of my back. You have to be real careful. I mean, you get a certain age. You know why? Because every season demands change. Every season demands change. Every season. I'm just telling you, movement is life. Movement is life. If you're going to move through the seasons, it demands change. You can't live in the summertime the way that you live in the wintertime. Every season demands change. And you have to change. You have to know when the seasons of your life are changing. You have to know when it's time to leave the party, that you can't keep this lifestyle up that you've been doing. You can't keep burning. I mean, I know you're a night hawk. At some time, you got to carry your behind the bed. You get a certain age. You're going to have to get into bed. You know, because life makes you have to adjust. The thing that you used to get away with eating and not exercising and all of these kinds of things. When the season of your life changes, you have to keep your finger on the pulse beat of the season of life so that you can change and keep moving if you want to keep moving. The older that you get, if you want to keep moving, you got to keep moving, because those who survive move. They move. They change with the seasons. They change with the season. If you want to survive, you're going to have to change with the season. You get a certain age. You used to be hot when you were younger. You're going to be asking for a blanket. And other folks around you'll be burning up, and you'll be like, ooh, that feels good to me. You'll be surprised. You will be surprised. So you've got to be willing to reinvent yourself to be what God needs you to be when you need to be it. You've got to be willing for that. You've got to be willing to reinvent yourself to be what God needs you to be when you need to be it. Because you either stagnate or you recreate. You either stagnate or you recreate. Movement is life. If you want to live, you've got to be able to adjust to the seasons of your life. Life is a collection of seasons, and you got to know the seasons that you're in.